The history of the Attitude Era on Wrestling Wednesdays continues at Bad Blood 1997 as we recreate the Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Come join me for some great gameplay, some match commentary, some historical wrestling discussion, and loads more as well. So, lower the cell. Well, today on Wrestling Wednesday, the history of the Attitude Era arrives at the Hell in a Cell. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. This was the first ever Hell in a Cell match, and many people still regard it as the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time. Now, I know what you're thinking, a lot of you know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hang on, what about The Undertaker versus Mankind? Surely that's the spectacular one that everyone kind of remembers and reveres. And yes, that's true, but the Mankind match had amazing bumps and spectacular falls. This match just was an amazing wrestling match, an amazing story by two absolutely fantastic workers, and Shawn Michaels here absolutely taking it to The Undertaker. Unlike in the real match, the story in the real match was that a lovely shot into the cell. The story in the real match was that The Undertaker basically took Shawn Michaels apart until Shawn Michaels was able to kind of come back with some very, very sneaky moves, such as a pile driver onto the steps, which sadly you can't do in WWE 13. But it was brilliant. Now, why did this Hell in a Cell match happen? It wasn't just one of the days they kind of thought, hey, let's just have this in a Hell in a Cell. It was done because of the ongoing feud between Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Bret Hart. Of course, because remember, this was 1997, and we all know what happened at the end of 1997. Because at SummerSlam, there had been a match between Bret Hart and The Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as the guest referee. And again, in an outstanding match filled with psychology, timing, storylines, great interaction between the three. If you've never seen it, go and check it out. Shawn Michaels, as the referee, did get far more involved than he was supposed to, and actually kind of... well, I won't give the finish away, but let's say he upset Bret Hart in some way. So this match was then signed as a kind of a feud continua, but it was felt that it was so likely that people would interfere that it should be held behind bars where no one could interfere. Now, the other thing, as Shawn Michaels hits a lovely plancher onto The Undertaker, the other reason this was put in the cell was because Paul Bearer had returned to the WWF as we get a slam into the cell and a spinebuster. Shawn Michaels, in a surprising twist, really taking it to The Undertaker early in this case. Undertaker coming back with what I believe Jim Ross used to describe as the soup bones punches, but they are having an effect on Shawn. The other reason this match was held in a cell was because Paul Bearer had returned and started making strange claims like he is alive, he has survived, he is returning, as Undertaker returns the favour by slamming Shawn into the cell. And of course, the very, very famous finish of this match was the debut of Kane. Kane being the Undertaker's storyline brother, and people kind of suspected that he might kind of come at some point as Shawn Michaels just pounds The Undertaker into the cell wall with the steps again and again and again. And Undertaker returns fire. Undertaker, despite taking move after move here, is not looking stunned, is not looking affected by the moves that Shawn Michaels is pounding into him, and just returns fire by absolutely slamming Shawn into the cell again and again and again and whipping him back into it repeatedly. Now, Kane is a very interesting character, both from a kind of a storyline perspective and from a wrestling historian perspective. The man behind the mask is a man called Glenn Jacobs, who had actually been in the WWF at least twice before his eventual debut as Kane. As The Undertaker picks up Shawn Michaels, and we're going through the wall! The Undertaker showing his dominance over Shawn. He doesn't respect Shawn's titles, he doesn't respect Shawn's accomplishments, he just wants a piece of the Heartbreak Kid. And Shawn Michaels has got to know that he is in serious trouble now. Nothing he is doing is having an effect on The Undertaker, and now it's The Undertaker's turn with the steps. Shawn bleeding from the head. Undertaker casually kicking the stairs out of Shawn Michaels out of his hands, and again The Undertaker ready to continue this pounding on the outside. Glenn Jacobs, the man behind Kane, had originally appeared as Isaac Yankum, DDS, if you remember him from that not very good feud with Bret Hart, although I'm sure Bret Hart did his best. And he was also the fake Diesel, the awful gimmick when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall had left the WWF. Jim Ross, in quotes, brought them back, except he didn't bring them back, he brought back other people to play the characters. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up on YouTube. It was terrible. They had a fake Diesel and a fake Razor Ramon, and the fans absolutely hated it, and I'm sure the wrestlers again did their best, but it wasn't going anywhere. Shawn just slamming The Undertaker into the cage here, trying to get some space, but The Undertaker just coming back and coming back and coming back. And it looks like Shawn here trying to escape the onslaught, the never-ending pursuit of the Taker, but the Taker is following him up to the top of the cell. Shawn cannot believe it that they are both going to be fighting on the top of the cell. Shawn chopping away, desperately trying to block The Undertaker, but The Undertaker... Oh my God! Shawn Michaels from the top of the cell, recreating the famous bump by Mick Foley so many years ago. But unlike the original bout, The Undertaker follows off the top of the cell with a huge diving elbow. Now, the original match between these two did have a bump similar to that, but not quite as high. Shawn was trying to climb down the cell, so he was halfway down, and The Undertaker stomped on his hands and he slipped off and went through the table. Not quite as high as the Mankind one, but it was equally memorable at the time, at least, before Mankind eclipsed it. Yes, so Glenn Jacobs had done his penance as these two rather dodgy gimmicks, and then he was handed Kane, the gimmick of The Undertaker's brother, which many people suspected again would just be one of those kind of like little feuds for The Undertaker, 8 months facing a big guy, as Shawn comes back with a big suplex, just catching the back of The Undertaker, and now going for a sharpshooter on the outside. He's tried weapons, he's tried slamming him around. Perhaps he can weaken The Undertaker by actually targeting various body parts, but no, The Undertaker's strength and subhuman zombie-like powers mean he just keeps coming. Shawn Irish whipping The Undertaker, tripping into the stairs, and again looks like he's going to try and run for higher ground, perhaps more for survival if nothing else. However, he can't be thinking straight, because what happened to him before could equally happen again. And yes, many people saw Kane as a simple kind of gimmick, a one-off feud with The Undertaker, in the same way that you had people like Giant Gonzalez, King Kong Bundy, and various others that kind of just faced The Undertaker and disappeared. Kane has actually now lasted, as you'll know, because he's still going. He has now lasted way over 10 years with the same character, although they do cleverly keep reinventing the gimmick. He was masked, he was unmasked, he couldn't speak, he could speak, and even now doing the comedy routines with Daniel Bryan to try and keep the character fresh. And finally, Shawn starting to make some headway against The Undertaker here by slamming him with a whole range of moves against this unprotected steel girders at the top of the cell. We've had a suplex, we've had a backdrop, we've had a DDT, we've had a reverse DDT. The Undertaker now finally is bleeding as well, and Shawn is showing no mercy. He knows that to beat The Undertaker, he may well have to take him, his piece literally, apart piece by piece. And finally The Undertaker is staying down after some of Shawn's offense, but he is still looking dangerous and almost sitting up there after that particular maneuver. So Shawn takes it up another level. He can't do this, surely not. Oh, and a pile driver, a massive skull compacting, concussion giving, head compacting maneuver on top of the cell. But The Undertaker is not done yet, and in fact that maneuver may have just irritated the Undertaker as we get a massive choke slam on top of the cell, and Shawn has got to be feeling the pain right now. This was an expertly told match in terms of the story. The general consensus, of course, being that Shawn was just going to get his butt kicked, and he really did. But of course, Shawn Michaels eventually winning this match in the real one, purely because of a low blow, massive low blow there, purely because of the interference of Kane. The Undertaker's no selling was sold brilliantly by Shawn, and there was a very memorable part where Shawn Michaels actually bladed as we go over for the ride, a massive kind of clutched suplex there. Shawn Michaels trying to put the Undertaker away with a second pile driver on top of the cell, and they've gone through. Surely the Undertaker will be feeling the effects of Shawn Michaels' offense now. No one could kick out of that. No one could survive that. Shawn Michaels got to be proud of his handiwork. The Undertaker not moving. Shawn Michaels going for the turnbuckle. He's going to be flying for the elbow straight into the Undertaker's heart. But Taker's back up. Taker is back up. Taker is back up. He's completely no-sold, effectively death. A massive lariat to Shawn Michaels. Undertaker now with a signature maneuver, and Shawn Michaels has literally got to be tearing himself up mentally. He has put this man through hell. Pile drivers on steel, pile drivers through a cell, suplexes, DDTs, and the Undertaker just keeps on coming. He is not a man, he is the undead machine. And this was the Undertaker. This is basically the Undertaker's gimmick. Whatever you give him, he keeps on coming until you really, really have to do something hideous to him. With Shawn Michaels there countering the countering the tombstone pile driver, and Shawn Michaels now desperately trying to keep control of this monster of the Undertaker. Now, in terms of the historical significance of this match, it basically spawned this gimmick. This match was so good, and the Mankind match was so good, that the Hell in a Cell became one of the premier feud-ending gimmicks. And we've got a roll-up by Shawn. Perhaps here we can get the freak out. No, Undertaker kicks out on one. After everything he has taken, he has kicked out on one. And the Hell in a Cell became the biggest gimmick WWE have had for perhaps the next kind of 8 or 9 years. It's only really been diluted fairly recently with things like the Money in the Bank matches and things like that. But even now, the Hell in a Cell match does get a massive ooh and response from the audience, in part due to matches like this. And Shawn Michaels finally goes to his the last page of his playbooks, and sweet chin music's the Undertaker on the outside of the ring. Stairs thrown into the ring, and Shawn has got to be thinking that now is the time. If he's going to be able to put the Undertaker away, he's got to do it now. Huge step shot, and Shawn Michaels backs away, steps still in hand. He wants the Undertaker to take another shot of this. He's remembering the beating that the Undertaker gave him on the outside with the steps. Undertaker stands up. Undertaker tells him to bring it, and Shawn does. Just completely lays the Undertaker out and then flings the stairs right back at him. Undertaker now has got to be in a seriously bad way. Shawn Michaels getting desperate, sets up the Undertaker, prepares him for the finale, and here it comes. A sweet chin music to the face of the Undertaker, the second one, and Shawn is tuning up the band. He has got to be heading for the third kick. He figures that's got to be it to put the Undertaker away, and the Undertaker is going down. No! The Undertaker is still alive. The Undertaker is still in control. The Undertaker will never go down, and the Undertaker taunts over Shawn Michaels' unconscious body, and Shawn responds with another sweet chin music. Shawn diving on top of the cover. This is going to be the third sweet chin music, and he got him. He has got him. The impossible has been achieved here this evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it has to be said, perhaps the Undertaker brought that on himself rather than simply putting Shawn Michaels away. He decided to pose, decided to taunt, decided to try and psych out Michaels, and it didn't work. Shawn was ready and waited for the Undertaker's guard to be dropped and simply kicked him in the face. What a match between two Hall of Famers, two men at the top of their game. This was an all-time classic. If you have never seen the real match, you must go and find it. Now, not only did this match invent the Hell in the Cell, it also perhaps pushed Bret Hart down the card a little bit. This was not a title match. This was purely a grudge match, and yet it was definitely seen as the biggest match on the Bad Blood card. And it was perhaps another reason why Bret Hart was feeling that he didn't want to put Shawn Michaels over at the next pay-per-view, as he felt once again that Shawn Michaels was trying to steal his thunder and take away his heat. But of course, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart for the title would happen at Survivor Series 1997. And this would be where the history of the Attitude Era will next make its stop. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, then please give the video a like and do subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more. And every Wednesday you can expect some top-class wrestling action from a variety of games. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.